the routine takeoff. The story begins on a calm, clear morning at Gateway International Airport. Flight 712, a renowned commercial airliner, prepares for departure on what is expected to be an uneventful journey. Passengers stream into the terminal, their faces a mixture of excitement, routine, and mild fatigue from early wake-ups. Among them is a family of 4 heading for a long-awaited vacation, a young professional on her way to an important business meeting, and an elderly man traveling to reunite with his childhood friend after decades apart. Their lives, at this moment, are ordinary, untouched by the looming chaos. In the cockpit, Captain Daniel Carter and First Officer Emily Hayes conduct their pre-flight checks with the ease of seasoned professionals. Captain Carter, a veteran with over 15 years of experience, exudes confidence as he reviews the flight plan. Beside him, Emily, sharp and meticulous, handles the technical checks, her eyes scanning the controls and gauges. They've flown together before and share an unspoken trust that helps them work seamlessly. The crew in the cabin, led by Chief Flight Attendant Maria Lopez, ensures that the boarding process runs smoothly. Maria's warm smile and calm demeanor set the tone as she assists passengers finding their seats, helping a mother stow a diaper bag and reassuring a nervous first-time flyer. The other flight attendants follow her lead, moving gracefully through the aisles with practiced efficiency. As the passengers settle into their seats, the usual pre-flight rituals unfold. Overhead bins are closed, seat belts are buckled, and mobile devices are switched to airplane mode. A child's laughter echoes briefly as he marvels at the sight of the massive aircraft through the window. Outside, ground crews scurry around, performing final checks and signaling the all-clear to the cockpit. In the control tower, air traffic controllers monitor the skies, ensuring everything is aligned for a smooth takeoff. The plane pushes back from the gate, its engines roaring to life, a sound both familiar and thrilling to aviation enthusiasts. Inside, passengers feel the slight vibrations as the aircraft taxis toward the runway. Captain Carter's voice crackles over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Flight 712. We're expecting clear skies and smooth conditions for most of our journey today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight." As the plane aligns with the runway, a hush falls over the cabin. The engines roar louder, building to a crescendo as the aircraft begins its takeoff roll. Passengers feel the force of acceleration pressing them back into their seats. The runway markings blur past the windows, and within moments, the massive machine lifts gracefully into the sky. Cheers erupt from a group of vacationers seated near the back, their enthusiasm contagious. Above the airport, the view transforms. The sprawling city below shrinks, its intricate grid of streets and buildings fading into the distance. Passengers gaze out at the rising sun painting the horizon in hues of orange and pink. The beauty of the moment captures a collective sense of awe and anticipation. Minutes pass, and the aircraft reaches its cruising altitude. The fasten seatbelt sign dims, prompting a flurry of activity. Passengers adjust their seats, pull out laptops, or engage in quiet conversation. Flight attendants begin their service, moving through the aisles with carts laden with beverages and snacks. The hum of the engines provides a comforting backdrop to the calm environment. But amidst the routine, subtle hints of trouble begin to surface. In the cockpit, Captain Carter notices an unusual vibration in the controls. It's faint, almost imperceptible, but enough to catch his attention. "Emily, did you feel that?" he asks, his tone steady but curious. First Officer Hayes pauses, her hand hovering over the throttle. "Barely," she replies, frowning slightly. "It's probably nothing, but I'll run a quick systems check." In the cabin, the mood remains light. Passengers sip their drinks, oblivious to the subtle undercurrent of unease developing in the cockpit. A flight attendant chats with an elderly woman about her upcoming trip, her cheerful voice blending with the sound of clinking ice cubes. Meanwhile, in row 14, a toddler giggles as his father makes faces to keep him entertained. The world at 35,000 feet feels secure, suspended between the earth and sky. The vibration in the cockpit grows slightly more pronounced, though still not alarming. Emily reports back. "No anomalies in the systems, Captain. Might just be turbulence." Carter nods but decides to keep monitoring it. Years of experience have taught him that even minor issues can escalate if overlooked. "Let's keep an eye on it," he says, his voice calm but resolute. Unbeknownst to the crew and passengers, a hidden issue is brewing within the aircraft's mechanical systems. A minor defect, undetected during maintenance, begins to escalate under the strain of flight conditions. For now, it remains invisible, a silent threat lying in wait. As the plane continues its journey, the morning sun bathes the cabin in golden light. Passengers enjoy the illusion of peace, unaware that their lives are on the brink of being irrevocably changed. The stage is set, the players are in motion, and the tale of Flight 712 begins its descent into chaos. The crisis unfolds. The tranquility of Flight 712 is shattered without warning. A loud, jarring bang reverberates through the cabin, startling passengers from their reverie. Overhead bins rattle, and a sudden jolt causes drinks to spill and books to slide off laps. In the cockpit, alarms begin blaring, their shrill tones signaling a serious malfunction. Captain Carter's hands instinctively grip the controls as he exchanges a quick, urgent glance with Emily. "Engine 2's down," Emily reports, her voice strained but controlled as she analyzes the situation. The instrument panel displays a cascade of warnings: a sudden loss of thrust, fluctuating fuel pressure, and rising engine temperatures. The second engine, critical to the plane's stability and propulsion, has failed unexpectedly. "Mayday, mayday, this is Flight 712, Carter announces into the radio, his tone steady despite the mounting pressure. "We've lost an engine and are declaring an emergency. Requesting immediate clearance to the nearest airport." Air traffic control responds swiftly, rerouting nearby flights to clear the path for Flight 712. They direct the aircraft toward Ridgefield Regional Airport, a mid-sized facility equipped to handle emergencies. The controllers' calm voices provide a sliver of reassurance as they guide the crew through the crisis. In the cabin, fear begins to take hold. Passengers exchange worried glances, their conversations hushed. The flight attendants, trained for moments like these, move quickly to maintain order. Maria addresses the passengers through the intercom, her voice steady. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing a technical issue and will be making an emergency landing. Please remain seated with your seat belts fastened and follow crew instructions." Despite her composed tone, the gravity of the situation is evident. Parents hold their children close, and passengers grip the armrests, their knuckles white. The once ordinary flight has transformed into a terrifying ordeal. As the plane approaches the storm system ahead, turbulence rocks the aircraft. Lightning flashes in the distance, illuminating ominous clouds that stretch as far as the eye can see. The crew braces for the next challenge, navigating through the storm while maintaining control of the crippled plane. In the cockpit, Captain Carter and Emily work in tandem, their training and instincts guiding every decision. "We need to reduce speed," Carter says, his voice firm. "Extend the flaps and start the descent. Let's keep her steady." Emily nods, her hands moving swiftly over the controls. The storm's turbulence grows more violent, and the plane's structure groans under the strain. Back in the cabin, oxygen masks deploy as the plane loses altitude. The atmosphere is tense, filled with muffled cries and whispered prayers. Maria and her team move through the aisles, demonstrating calm professionalism despite the chaos around them. "Breathe normally," she instructs passengers, her voice cutting through the fear. "We're trained for this, and we'll get through it together." As Flight 712 battles the elements and mechanical failure, a sense of unity begins to form among the passengers and crew. Strangers offer each other words of comfort, and the collective hope of survival becomes their shared lifeline. The descent into chaos is well underway, but the fight for survival has only just begun. The fight for survival. The storm outside is unrelenting, its fury shaking the plane as if it were a toy. Captain Carter fights to maintain control, his hands steady on the yoke despite the constant turbulence. Emily works quickly to reroute power systems, her voice calm but clipped as she relays updates to the captain. "We're running on one engine. Power's fluctuating, but the hydraulics are holding. For now. Good. Let's keep it that way." Carter replies, his eyes fixed on the storm ahead. The plane is flying dangerously low, skimming just above jagged mountain peaks hidden by thick clouds. Visibility is near zero, and every decision must be precise. In the cabin, passengers cling to whatever stability they can find. Some whisper prayers, while others clutch the hands of strangers in desperate solidarity. Maria and her crew continue. The final descent ***. The ground loomed closer as Flight 712 descended through the storm, the cockpit a flurry of activity. Captain Carter and First Officer Hayes worked tirelessly, their years of training and experience guiding them through the storm's relentless battering. Each passing second brought them closer to the emergency landing site, but the odds seemed insurmountable. The aircraft's single operational engine groaned under the strain, its output faltering intermittently. In the cabin, fear had given way to an eerie calm. Passengers whispered final messages into phones, hoping their loved ones might hear their voices one last time. Some clung to fragments of hope, clutching armrests or silently praying. Others found solace in the presence of strangers, forging bonds born of shared survival instincts. Maria and her team remained steadfast, circulating through the aisles with reassurances, though their own faces betrayed the gravity of the situation. "We're almost there," Emily said, her voice steady but tinged with exhaustion. The runway at Ridgefield Regional Airport came into view, a faint beacon of hope through the dense rain and lightning. Air traffic control relayed final instructions, their voices urgent yet calm. "Flight 712, you are clear for an emergency landing. Winds are gusting at 30 knots, use extreme caution." "Roger that," Carter replied, his focus unwavering. He adjusted the flaps and landing gear, every movement deliberate. The storm's turbulence threatened to wrest control from his grip, but he refused to yield. "Emily, prepare for reverse thrust on touchdown. We're coming in heavy." "Understood," Emily said, her hands poised over the controls. The runway grew larger in the windshield, its lights blurred by sheets of rain. The aircraft's descent was perilous, buffeted by crosswinds that pushed it off course. Carter corrected the trajectory with careful precision, the yoke heavy in his hands. Inside the cabin, passengers braced themselves, their collective breath held as the ground raced toward them. The plane hit the runway with a bone-jarring impact, the tires screeching against the slick surface. Sparks flew as the landing gear struggled to absorb the force. Emily deployed the reverse thrusters, and the engines roared in protest. The aircraft skidded, hydroplaning briefly before regaining traction. Every second felt like an eternity as the plane slowed, the end of the runway drawing nearer. In the cockpit, Carter's voice broke the tension. "Full brakes." Emily complied, her hands moving instinctively. The aircraft shuddered violently, its momentum finally easing as it came to a stop mere feet from the runway's end. For a moment, there was silence, save for the storm raging outside. Cheers and sobs erupted in the cabin, the tension giving way to overwhelming relief. Passengers hugged one another, tears streaming down their faces. Maria and her crew moved swiftly, ensuring everyone remained calm and seated. Over the intercom, Carter's voice carried the weight of their ordeal but also a note of triumph. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. We've made an emergency landing. Please remain seated as the crew assists with evacuation. You are safe." Emergency vehicles raced toward the plane, their lights cutting through the rain. Firefighters and paramedics prepared for the evacuation, their practiced efficiency a stark contrast to the chaos of the storm. The passengers disembarked in an orderly manner, some aided by the emergency slides, others stepping directly onto the tarmac. Each face bore a mix of exhaustion and gratitude, the magnitude of their survival sinking in. As the last passenger exited, Carter and Emily remained in the cockpit, their hands briefly resting on the controls they had fought so hard to command. They exchanged a weary glance, the unspoken understanding of what they had endured passing between them. "We made it," Emily said softly, her voice breaking. Carter nodded, exhaling deeply. "We did. And so did they." Outside, the storm began to dissipate, the clouds breaking apart to reveal a faint glimmer of sunlight. The survivors of Flight 712 gathered under emergency shelters, their faces illuminated by relief and disbelief. Strangers who had shared the ordeal embraced, their lives forever intertwined by the events of that fateful flight. For Captain Carter, Emily Hayes, Maria, and the rest of the crew, the successful landing was more than a testament to their skill. It was a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Flight 712's story would be retold countless times, a tale of chaos, courage, and survival etched into aviation history. The sky that had once threatened to consume them now stood as a symbol of their triumph over adversity.